attic. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite beverage, and we'll get to crafting and memory keeping. Today we're going to start the tutorial for my Blush and Breezy kit. It is the July kit for this month. You can find it at the link down in the description box in my Ko-fi shop. This will be a 4-part series. The first 2 weeks we'll be doing the actual journal that you can use the kit that has the accordion binding, the front covers, all the envelopes, and the journal cards. Part 1, we're going to be putting this together, and part 2, we'll be doing the decorating. For part 3 and 4, each week in July, I will have a freebie that goes along with this kit. So parts 3 and 4 are going to show you how you can take this kit and make a much bigger journal. So I'd love it if you've hit the subscription button and the notification bell so you'll be notified anytime I put up any new content. So the first thing I'm going to do is tell you a little bit about what you'll need to do to get to the point that I'm at right now. You'll need to download the kit, cut out all the pieces, and I have scored and inked all the pieces. You do not have to ink if you don't like to. I do like to ink all the edges of all my projects. It is a personal preference, but it's not something you have to do if you don't have ink or if you don't like inking. I have used Kitsch Flamingo to ink all the edges of the pieces, and I have gone ahead and scored all the pieces in the kit. So let's look at what we've done here. I've taken the front and back cover. I've inked both front and back there. I've also printed on the back of the covers one of the backing papers so that I didn't have to do anything to that. And then I inked the back of that. I cut out the accordion binding, scored each one of the folds on the score lines. And I did not ink here because this is where you're going to be putting your glue, and you'll see about that later. But I did ink around the outside edge just in case you could see that. I've cut out all the envelopes, inked and scored those. I cut out all the journal cards. And for the journal cards, I did again use one of the backing papers to print on the back of my journal cards. And then for the outside spine cover, I have cut that out, scored on those lines, folded those, and inked that on the outside. Did not ink on the inside, those score lines, but did again ink around the edge of that. Let's talk a little bit about what else I've got that I'm going to be using with this envelope journal kit. I am using the Distress Oxide again, Kitsch Flamingo, Salvage Patina, and Tumbled Glass. Out of my stash, I have grabbed some flamingo ribbon. I've also grabbed the Distress Mica Stain in Sugary Gumdrop. And I've grabbed 3 Nuvo drops. This one is the Crystal Drops Carnation Pink. I have Crystal Drops Sugared Almond. And again, the Crystal Drops Metallic Bottle Green. I've also put together a little kit here. I've got some iridescent tissue paper. I cut out the extra pieces for the kit for all my fussy cuts, the tag, and the pocket. Set those to the side. And you'll notice when you finish cutting out all your envelopes and your covers and stuff, you've got some extra edging of papers that now have the backing papers printed on them. So instead of just tossing those and throwing those away, I decided to grab out some stamps and do some stamping. And I'll show you the stamps that I used. I just did some word stamps where it says summer, summer travel in the different colors. a little starfish. And these are the stamps I used. I don't know if you can see those. Let me grab a paper and see if you can see those a little bit better. These are some stamps that I did get at the Dollar Tree, so they weren't very expensive stamps. They stamped fairly well. But this is what I like to do a lot of times to make my kits cost effective, because I've now got all these little embellishments that I've cut out with the die cuts. These are the die cuts that I used. And I apologize, I don't know where a lot of these came from. If I ever know where things came from, I will tell you, but a lot of the things I have gotten secondhand either on eBay or at thrift stores. So these are just some floral die cuts. I think some of them were Tim Holtz, pretty sure like these wreaths were Tim Holtz, and some of the flowers might have been Tim Holtz, but it wasn't in a Tim Holtz pack, so I don't have that to tell you. I did cut out a lot of labels that I may be using as cluster backs, but that is a Sizzix Tim Holtz die. They were the thinlets. See if I can pull this out so you can see the number here without the glare. It is the thinlets, the labels, and it's number 665929. I am going to be doing some wax seals, and I've got a couple of colors here, kind of a sea green and a pale pink. The wax seals I think I'm going to use are this feather that I thought represented the flamingo feather pretty well, and this fern. I've also got some beads that I might be using that I found at Hobby Lobby on clearance. They reminded me of sea glass, so I thought that went well with the project. And I've caught a couple of charms that I may end up using. Got some little flip-flops, and then a little charm shadow box that's got like seashells and sand in it, and I think it also has some sea glass in it, if you can see that. Most of the time for my charms and things like that, I will pick these up either at thrift stores, like broken jewelry pieces, or at like Hobby Lobby when they put their stuff on clearance. I try not to buy my charms full price if I can help it, because charms and things like that can get very expensive. I want to show you the colors of the Nuvo and that mica stain, what that may look like on our project. This is the splatter from the mica stain, and then these are the Nuvo drops that I picked out. I also, with the extra paper where I cut out the kits, I did some stamping that I may use as borders and did some paper tearing here, and I used a little dolly border punch that I had that reminded me kind of like a seashell, and so I've got that. And out of my stash I grabbed some sentiment strip word strips here that I may end up using. So I'm going to set this all aside and let's start assembling our book. So for the assembly process, you'll need your accordion binding strip here. You'll need the outside spine piece, your front and back cover, and your 6 envelopes. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and glue my envelopes together. Since I've already cut and scored this, this will be pretty straightforward. I like to use wet glue for most of my projects. I'll just put my glue right on the folded strips here for your envelope. And then just close your envelope up and burnish those edges down. And I'll repeat this process with all 6 envelopes. Once you've got all your envelopes glued together, you can just set those and your covers aside for the time being. And we're going to start working on our binding. The way I designed this is your 2 end pieces are going to be where you glue your cover. So it'll be like this. We'll glue those to that. And you'll glue your cover here, okay? So you're not going to do anything with those 2 end pieces. You're going to go ahead where you scored and go ahead and fold back and forth on the whole accordion binding so that you end up with it like that, okay? So you've got these 2 end pieces and then you've got your mountains. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Your mountains will be where you end up gluing your envelopes on. You're going to flip this over to where your mountains are now valleys. Again, don't do anything with these 2 end pieces, but you're going to start putting glue on your valleys here to glue these together. And when I get that, I just like to go ahead and burnish that down to make sure it's good and adhered. If you've got any extra glue, you can go ahead and wipe that up. I tend to over glue sometimes. I think I have a fear of things coming unglued. So now you've got your first mountain. Flip it back over. And you're going to do your next one to where you've got a mountain here. So you're going to go ahead and apply glue here. You could use double stick tape here or score tape if you prefer that. Wet glue, I think, just gives me a little bit of extra wiggle room time to make any adjustments if I need to. So now you've got 1, 2. Flip that back over. Put your glue here. Flip it back over. If you ever get concerned about knowing which side is which, I always ink the side that I'm going to be gluing my envelopes on. And I have designed this to where the print lines are on the back where you'll be putting your glue. So you won't end up seeing those print lines. I know sometimes flipping things back and forth can sometimes get a little confusing as to what was front and what was back. But that just helps me keep it on track in my head. And then your last one will be here, because again, you're not going to do anything with that last strip, because that's where you're going to glue your cover. So when you're finished, you'll have your 2 single spines here for your front and back cover, and you'll now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 spines for your envelopes. So go ahead and get your front cover, and you're going to apply glue to that single spine there to go on your cover. And when I'm working, I like to kind of turn my stuff so that I can see and line up and kind of get it centered before I burnish everything down. That way, if you can see here, I've got about equal distance. Let me grab something here. About equal distance from here and here before I burnish everything down. Now you've got your front cover on. Now I'm going to do the same thing on this back cover. Get your back cover piece. Put your glue. I'm going to turn this around. I just got glue everywhere. Don't let go of that spine because it is kind of an accordion, so it'll kind of spring out if you let go of it. But just line that back up. And when you're lining this up, you want to make sure your covers don't go past that score mark there. Otherwise, the booklet won't open and close like it's supposed to. That's how your cover will be. So you've got your front and back covers on now. You can go ahead and put your front spine cover over if you want to now. I always just wait and do that towards the end after I get my envelopes in so that it stays open pretty well and I can have it flat on here. So now I'm going to decide the order I want my envelopes. So I go ahead and kind of lay these out and decide how I want to glue them in. And you've got a few different colors here. You've got the tumbled glass look here, and then you've got that salmon pink colors here, and then more of the salvage patina look on your inside cover pieces here. If you use the same things that I used to back it, you don't have to. Feel free to print these as you want. If you don't want these backing papers, you can end up not printing anything on the backs of these covers and using some of the freebies that I'll be coming out with in the next few weeks to do like cover panels here. But I'm going to start with one of my salmon colored envelopes here. I think I'm going to start out with a flamingo, since I want my flamingos to be kind of the prominent aspect of this. I don't want to take away from the cover, so I think what I want to do is do this 2 flamingo in the ocean here. So I want that to be my first one. And then I'm going to alternate my colors here. So I'm going to do my florals next. And then I think I'm going to go with another floral with the flamingo in the salmon pink here. And then I think I'm going to go with another flamingo. Let's see, do I want a flamingo or do I want another? I think I'm going to go with this floral here. It's a little lighter backing paper. Then I'm going to go with my tropical beverages and the seashells, and then end up with my flamingo. So this is how the order I'm going to glue them in. So you want to start with your spine number 1, and you're going to be gluing onto the back part of your envelopes here onto the spine. So go ahead and put your glue on this spine piece here. And then you're going to line up this envelope, and again I like to turn my pieces around so I can kind of get them centered. Don't want to go over that fold line because I want everything to be able to open correctly. Get that just kind of lined up and centered, and then I just push my spine down and burnish that into place. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing in the next piece. I'm going to add my glue. Get the envelope that I'm using here, get that lined up to that score mark there in my accordion binding. And then burnish that down into place. And I'm going to repeat that with the remaining 4 envelopes. So once you've got those all glued in, this is what you'll have. Cover and all your envelopes. And I like to go back and just check to make sure I don't have any extra glue where I glued these in, so that nothing ends up drying and sticking together. And then we're going to just attach our cover spine. If you didn't want to use the cover spine, you technically could use some ribbon here, like this ribbon here. If I wanted to cover my spine with that, I could do that. But just in case you didn't have anything like that, or you didn't want it to be quite so decorative, I've included this cover spine piece. What you're going to do is you're going to put your glue on these 2 largest pieces of the cover spine. You're not going to put glue in here where this is folded. That just allows for the book to open and close the way it's supposed to. So you're going to put your glue on these 2 widest pieces. And again, I like to just hold this up so that I can line this up the way I want to. And you're going to leave a little bit of a gap here. That's what's going to allow your booklet to open and close like you want it. Just like this. And then I'm going to set this aside to dry. So I hope you'll join me here again next week as we embellish our envelopes and the journal cards that go in here, and we do the closures for this little envelope journal. So be sure to hit that subscription button and the notification bell so you'll be notified anytime I put up any new content. And until I see y'all again here in the attic, y'all take care.